Let's go.
All right, check this out, y'all. Gunline, gunline, gunline. We got a fire mission coming down, y'all. Right now, if you see me, you also see one of my good buddies, friend of the podcast, host of the Sharp and Steel podcast, Marquez. Or is Jason? Is that your first name?
Yes, sir.
Jason Marquez. And the reason he's here today with me is because I'm actually on his podcast as we speak. So you're about to hear him do his intro as well, because we're doing a crossover on the Gunline Sharp and Steel collab where, well, we'll get into that later. Marquez, do your intro for yours, baby.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Sharp and Steel. I'm your host, Jason Marquez, and we are doing a collab here with Mr. Danny Lopez, who is the host of the On the Gunline podcast. What's going on, Mr. Lopez?
Yay, yay. You know it, baby. Over here, just sharpening that steel.
Sir. Yeah, guys. So before we get into it, man, how's your weekend going?
Bro, I need to learn to pay attention to the forecast. Because earlier this today, while we were discussing and talking, you were telling me on how cold it was out there in Washington. And I'm over here telling you about how hot and humid it is in San Antonio. It was 76 degrees, humid, and a bunch of skeeters. Well, I just got back from buying some H2O, HTO. It's a tea joint out here. And apparently it's in the 40s now. And we have a cold front coming in. So that's one. It's cold as heck. All right. And look, y'all, I'm watching my language because this is my boy's platform. And he does say come as you are, but I am also respectful. I try to be as well. So with that being said, it's cold as heck out there. All right. And two, my team lost today.
Ooh.
The Packers got their asses.
It's a little bit colder out there in Texas then?
Huh?
So that makes your world a little bit colder?
Oh, bro, not just my world, but my heart.
You look dressed a little bit warmer than I do.
Bro, I don't have a air conditioner or a heater inside of my garage. Inside here of the On the Gunline studio, it's just a hollowed out garage. All right.
Hey, it's exactly like it was on the Gunline. So there ain't nothing. That's organic right there. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Sir. But yeah, man, I appreciate you asking, man. Other than that, it's a good day above ground, so it's a good day to be alive. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Heck yeah. Well, guys, we are coming on here because, as we both said, we are going to do a joint venture here. And even though, Lopez and I have two different styles of podcasts here, we are going to combine together on a united front to discuss big issues that veterans have.
Mm-hmm.
And the intent behind this is to, I guess you'd call it, to get a panel of vets together to kind of discuss, I'm sure we'll dabble on what life was like in the military for us, right? Because we're going to kind of have different ranks present.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to discuss, what happened or how life's been since we've all taken that uniform off.
Yeah, definitely. And just to like the first part, just to say, just to piggyback off of that and caveat, as he stated, man, a lot of us, once we got out, we had some expectation of what the realities of the world was going to be. We had an idea of what we thought it was going to be like when we got out, whether it's going to be, family wise or work wise, financially wise. And then for majority of us, I don't want to overgeneralize too much, but for a lot of us, the reality was, unless you're like a fucking E8 or higher, it's kind of difficult to get a fucking job where you're gonna just step in and take over of a fucking in a managerial position. At least somewhere where it's gonna be beneficial to you financially. All right, because they offered me a couple supervisory positions in certain places to make $15 an hour, bro, when I got out back in 2015. Yeah, bro. And I was like, for that responsibility, $15 an hour? Are you serious, bro? But anywho,
send me back to the Gunline, boss.
Bro, I say that to this day. But no, so those were some of the realities that, we had to face head on. And not only that, we also, there were hurdles that we each had, and I'm sure that all of us tackled them different. And I
Yep.
think that that's one of the things that we're going to bring along within this venture that we're having here with the On the Gunline podcast and the Sharp and Steel podcast,
Yep.
because we both have our own unique experiences on how we dealt or still do deal with adversity or challenges, or even those moments of doubt, or just depression. I was talking with Marquez here, was a couple of days ago or maybe last week, I can't remember, but I was telling him, I'm be completely transparent with y'all. I was in a fucking suck, y'all. Like, I mean, in a depression. And until I talked with him about it, I hadn't really discussed it with anyone else. And that's kind of the platform that Marquez and myself want to bring together here,
Mm-hmm.
with a panel of veterans from senior to junior to fucking mid grade, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's
Yep.
perspective, everybody's point of view. Sorry if I talk too much, just the coffee kicks in sometimes.
No, you're good, man. And I think like one thing that I'm beginning to find out just because of the type of podcast that I have is, some of the people that have been reaching out to me, I mean, they're having a lot of mental issues. They're having, even senior enlisted individuals, that get out and, they basically, I mean, they get out, they retire, and they're rolling into their next retirement, and things are good and everything's good. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like that that honeymoon phase wears off and reality sets in, and it's like, man, this is not what I did for the past 20 plus years. And it starts to kick in up here. And I mean, that's one thing, man. Like, it doesn't matter what your pay grade was, it doesn't matter what your rank, what your position was. When you get attacked mentally, it doesn't matter. And so lately I've really started finding out that, people that we thought were, good because of their position and their rank and their stature and all that stuff, they're getting out and I mean, they're having a hard time with life.
Oh yeah, 100%, bro. And it's crazy because, like we were discussing earlier, full fucking transparency here. Marquez and I were talking this morning, and kind of dabbling onto the possibilities of what some of our challenges are when we get out. And one of the things I was discussing with Marquez, was that we're coming from a place where what we did mattered. Okay, what we did had really big consequences, and us also had a lot of reward. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And not that we did it for the reward, but I mean, it felt good when you saw that you accomplished something, and not just for yourself either, but for when you're in an NCO or an officer position. When you see your Joes getting elevated and promoted and whatnot, it makes you feel good because you know that you had a hand in molding that. Right. So when we come out to the real world, at least this, I'm just gonna overgeneralize, just gonna oversimplify it as well. When we get out, for me, it was something that I didn't feel like what I was doing was purposeful, and
Yep.
it didn't feel like there was any kind of productivity to it. And at the end of the day, I'm a person that likes to have tangible goals. All right, I like to see my fucking um my work blossom. And kind of like I was hitting with Marquez earlier, like, like a lot of fools, they'll get into construction because not only do we like to work with our hands, because that's what we did, mainly, but also because we get to see our product finished and accomplished. Same thing with a lot of fools that get into the health kick. I don't think it's just because they want to, be all healthy looking, but they get to see the output of their input. So
Well,
I think,
it's a lot more structure.
yeah, yeah.
I personally, like, when I got into bodybuilding and competing, man, like, I had a couple buddies from up here that I started to get to know that were pros, and they were like, "Man, like, how is this so easy for you?" And one of my buddies, Mike, as soon as he found out that I was in the military, he's like, "Oh, that's because this is another structured environment for you."
Mm-hmm.
And him telling me that, I was like, "Oh man." I never thought about that, but that's what it is, man. And that's for me, I got into construction. I got into a type of construction, remodeling houses, and that's what it was, man. Like, and customers loved how organized I was. I was there on time when I said I was gonna, but that was,
Mhm.
it's like it's like reliving army life without having that same uniform on.
And also, just blowing my fucking mind out of this is to what the civilian sector finds to be like you're going over the top on your on your work ethic to us is standard data.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that was something very difficult for me to get used to out here in the real world, bro. Because I mean, I'm used to being 10, 15 minutes early because that's how we're programmed. I couldn't do that anymore at my office because in their eyes, they have to pay me as soon as I walk in. Or you know what I'm saying? So they were like, yeah, because I used to show up like 20 minutes early, bro, depending on how traffic was. And I would show up and I'd be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna sit at my desk, start everything up, get everything going so then I could just punch in. They were like, no, you can't do that no more. You can't turn your computer on until it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, well,
Wow.
what am I supposed to do? They were like, I don't care. Go sit in your car. But you ain't touching your workstation. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just it blew my mind because there were so many that complained. And the
Mhm.
reason they did it was because so many people complained about, well, I'm not being compensated for these 5 minutes early. They add up during the month. That's money you're taking out of my pocket. And I get what they're saying. I do. But at the same time, let's be real.
Yep.
Anyway, that's why I don't work anymore, bro. I can't do that crap. Anyway, but we digress. I'm looking forward to having this panel because I'm sure you're probably gonna you're gonna give your what your struggles were and how you overcame them or are still overcoming them, and and I'm gonna talk about mine. But the biggest thing I want to see is others helping each other out because
Yes.
Marquez and I are not going to be participating as much as the panel. We're going to be more facilitating.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's going to be great. One thing that I enjoyed when I was teaching, or when I was not teaching, but we know when I was an NCO, was watching Joe's teaching Joe's or learning from each other because that's the best way to learn. Like, oh, you know what? This
Yep.
worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. And not only that, I'm not that person that's not humble enough to take from the other person. Like, hey, I never thought about it that way. You know what I'm saying? Sorry.
Well,
Again, my apologies. I talk too much.
there's a lot of stuff, man. Like, like I was actually, before we got on here, I was talking to Hunt,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just talking to him about stuff with TikTok and
Right.
things of that nature. But a lot of soldiers forget, man, that when we get out, one of the reasons why it's important for us to stay in contact with each other is because we can still network with each other. We
Mm-hmm.
can still get advice. We can still get help. We can, and I'm not talking about, hey, Lopez, I need to borrow $100 because,
Right.
blah, 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 but it's a way to constantly be uplifting each other and, supporting each other. Cause I mean, there's quite a number of people, man, that you and I served with that are business owners that have,
Mm-hmm.
they're entrepreneurs. And I mean, and what's the way that a business gets going is support from people,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of times it starts from the support of those that you already know. And, so having people here, like I said, there's, you know, the one thing that we're all going to have in common is, yeah, this is stuff that we are going to be dealing with every day for the rest of our lives,
Right.
but there may be individuals that are on this panel that are going through things at that particular time. Maybe they were going through it that day before they are getting
Mm-hmm.
onto these podcasts. And to be able to speak with somebody who, I don't want to say that's figured it out, but they've figured out a way to manage daily, that can be a massive help,
Oh, yeah.
and I
100%.
think that's where, like, you know, we're all chocked full of a bunch of alpha male pride. And it's hard for people, to reach out to other people and be like, man, I'm a freaking struggle fest today, dude. Like, I don't know what to do. Unless you just so happen to get that phone call. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like when I called you the other day, I was just calling to talk about this kind of stuff. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because I had a few questions and stuff. and then all of a sudden it comes out through conversation,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of times when a vet's talking to another vet, that's kind of a natural thing. It will come up at some point in time in the conversation.
100%. 100. And like we are discussing earlier too, dude. A lot of people will portray this 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 fake life per
Yep.
se of how everything is all fucking crimson and clover, all dandelions and rainbows. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, it's you're dying inside, bro. You feel defeated. And I'll tell you, that's one word that once I learned it, it stuck with me, was defeated. There's been
Oh, yeah.
times where I felt like I was just completely defeated, bro. And I still struggle with a lot of things in my own personal life, that unfortunately I can't really talk about too much on here. Because there's some things that I do leave off the air, which I'll talk to you about or whatnot but it's just it fucks with me, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But anyways, full transparency though, other than like like you were saying, we tend to feel our most open amongst each other, you know. And I'll tell you what, another phrase that I just learned was trauma bond.
Mm.
And as weird as it sounds to me, it sounds kind of gay, but at the same time, it's like using battle buddy. I never liked that term, but trauma bonding, it's what we've done. It's
Yep.
we bonded over the crap that we went through, whether
Yep.
it was basic training, whether it was deployments, the good times, the bad times. It was all those moments that we spent together,
Yep.
and that nobody else, unless they were in our shoes, would understand. Because no matter
Yes.
how many times you try to explain it to a civilian who says, yeah, I feel you, nah, you really don't,
Well, and that's the reason why, I mean, there's guys, man, like take your home, for example, right? Your wife, your kids. Yeah, that's your wife. Those are your kids, but they don't know what you went through. I'm sure that there's probably been times in your own home. I know there's been times in my home and with my family where it's just like, I ain't talking to none of y'all because none of y'all probably gonna think I'm making up a freaking war story right now. You know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
a lot of times that's what causes people up here to just start separating themselves and just inching away from the people that actually care about them.
Disassociating themselves.
Yes.
Mhm.
Which is very, very, very dangerous sometimes.
On that note, bro, I think I mentioned this to you a long time ago on one of the episodes that I did with you.
Yep.
The loneliest I ever felt was when I was surrounded by a group of my family or a group of people. And that was one of the worst feelings I ever had, because these were people who are supposed to love me or who do love me. And I love them, However, you're not the same person you were at one time. Like I can tell you that Danny Alfonso Lopez became Private Lopez. And so Danny Lopez was gone. He's out of the picture. He was, and I was 26, 27 when I joined. So I was an old motherfucker. But I'll tell you what, the day that Danny Alfonso Lopez died for real was January 5th, 2006, because that was the day that my whole world got flipped upside down.
Mhm.
And I have never looked at life the same again. And I don't have to go into too much detail. You know what I'm talking about. And for those that were on that deployment with us, they know. You know what I'm saying? But that was the day that fucked up my whole life, but at the same time opened my eyes to things. You know what I'm saying? So
Well, and that's
that Danny Lopez is gone. Now it's just Lopez. And
yep.
that's all I'm used to. And I would love to find that person again who I used to be, but it's hard. And now I
Well,
feel I have to put his mask on.
that's the thing, bro. Like, like before you join, you're this person, right? And then you join and you're another person, okay? And then when you get out, you got to become another person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it gets hard for most of us that did. I'm going to go ahead and say most of us that did 8 years plus,
Right.
right? We got the ways of that uniform instilled into us.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? There is no just, okay, well, I'm out, so let me just go ahead and shut the army switch off.
Right.
It don't work that way. What we did was we shut the civilian switch off and then we broke it.
Mm-hmm.
Which involves the way we speak, the way we feel, how we operate, how we carry ourselves. I mean, all those things. And then when we get out, we're expected to try to repair that switch, and we're there just trying to find a way to flip it back on, but it just we have to build a brand new one. We
Well,
have
the
to build
work.
a whole new breaker panel.
Well, what sucks is, dude, that we think we think that by toning down our vocabulary, by toning down our aggression, by toning down our tone when we speak with people, we think that
Mhm.
we're fitting in to the civilian sector. However, that's not true. What I found is you're lying to yourself, one, because now you're just basically putting on a mask to try to conform. But secondly, they still look at you odd because you're still speaking a different language than them, because you're, again, if you did 6+ years, you understand. Okay. I'm not trying to take anything away from those that did four years or whatnot, but I'm just saying if you did 4 years and you deployed, you'll understand. But if you just did 4 and you're out, you're kind of not going to understand this. But I drank the Kool-Aid, bro. I drank that Kool-Aid. Okay. And I don't know. I felt like I was trying to fit in, and I was trying to force relationships where they didn't exist.
Yep.
And by doing that, I caused myself more harm than just staying on my own. You know what I mean? In other words, like, I try to force friendships, but end up getting burned. You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's like
Or
like what I tell people, man, like, and this is the reason why I am the way that I am. Like, I'm gonna act and speak the same way with you as I do with my mom, with my dad, with whoever I'm around, because when you're trying to put different masks on you and you're trying to act different ways, eventually the act is going to run out. You're going to grow tired of acting that way. And all it does is it just affects you up here so stinking bad that you feel like you're losing it. You know what I'm saying? But like me personally, bro, I have maybe one friend that I hang out with here, man, and he's one of my friends that I've been friends with since high school.
yeah,
So I've known him for a long, long time. But outside of that, bro, like I really don't mess with nobody unless it's like my family and stuff like that. Like my
mm-hmm.
sisters are close to my age, so my brother-in-laws and stuff are, they're real close to my age and stuff like that. But dude, I just don't mess with nobody because I mean, I've had so many people tell me like, "Oh, when you speak, it sounds like you're talking down to people." Why? Because I speak with authority, because I speak with confidence,
Confidence, and
and I mean, that's why like a lot of us, bro, we're so good at stuff like this. We're good at speaking to people. We're good at running companies because
yep.
we don't take nothing from nobody, and we know how to speak, and we have a command presence.
And that's the issue right there too, especially when you go work like in corporate America. If you
Oh
go
yeah,
in with that confidence, exuding confidence, because look, I don't know how it works in those other fucking MOSs, but in combat arms, you need to speak with authority, but
I
not come
don't
out
I
like
don't
you're
mean to
fucking.
interrupt you, but did you just get the same message
Yep,
that
I
I
got the
got?
same one. We got 10 minutes. I think that's more than enough to wrap this up.
All
So,
right.
but when you go out there into the real world and you go out there and you speak with that authority, you speak with that command presence, some people are gonna look at you like, who does this guy think he is? He just came over here. That's how they
Yeah.
looked at me when I first started working at the joint that I went to work at. And it
Yeah.
was more because I'm gonna talk to you with confidence. I might be one thing that the boards taught us, you will, if you say the sky is fucking purple, you better stick with that till the end, chief. You are
Yep.
100% sticking to that story. And that's the way I was.
Mhm.
And again, so a lot of people interpret that as cockiness. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And it's not being cocky, it's being confident. All right. A lot of people say I'm conceited, because I always say, like, I'm a 45-year-old looking pimp. I look great. You know what I'm saying? I do. I look good, chief. For a 45-year-old about to be 46, I look pimping. It's not that I'm
But that's
conceited.
that's
It's that I'm
that's
confident,
uh,
baby.
I mean, if you think about it, bro, like, well, this is gonna age us a little bit, but going
Hmm.
back to when we wore BDUs and
Yeah.
black boots.
Oh God, yeah.
what would happen every Monday? Hey, whoever has the most squared away press uniform, shine boots,
Mm-hmm.
everything that they're supposed to have on their uniform is going to get rewarded with a day off, or the whole platoon gets a day off, or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
that's where it started. It started with you taking pride, and before you even open your mouth, let me
Mm-hmm.
see how you look. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? And then after that, I mean, sometimes it got to the point to where they ask you maybe a question, like some type of job related,
Right.
MOS related question, or board related question, or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, that confidence has to exude out. I mean, you can't just be
Exactly.
like, well, first
Well,
sergeant.
I mean, you
No,
can't be a leader of
say it with your
soldiers
chest.
if you're not, you can't be a leader of soldiers if you're not confident in what you say. You can't earn their respect and confidence. You can't. If you're going to be doubting yourself, second guessing yourself, you can't. You know what I'm saying? But with that, I want to throw this question out to our listenership out there. You've heard how Marquez and myself, we deal with some of these things, and some of the we're giving y'all examples. What are some examples that maybe you have since that you've experienced since you got out? What are some of the hardships you've had, and how did you overcome them? And if you haven't overcome them, what are some of the things you have tried but haven't been able to accomplish it? What are some other workarounds that you've used? Because look, we all in some way or another, whether we want to admit it or not, are, I don't want to say we're damaged, because we're not. We're not damaged, all right? We just have to live life differently, and it's cool. We just look, people say I suffer from PTSD. Nah, I live with PTSD. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
I live with it. I don't suffer from it. I ain't no
Yep.
bitch. Bitches suffer. I'm a man. Sorry. I start getting, a little passionate. But but I'm
True
just saying,
though. I'm
how do you guys, like, okay, for example, give y'all an example. My podcast has been my way of working through some of my issues. All right. My podcast has been a way that I get to talk with other people, and I hope to start filling my calendar up again and do the shoot the shits like we used to. All right. And I'll put out that call to action sooner or later. But for Marquez, Marquez, he had his way of overcoming things, and he uses it, and that's the Bible. You know what I'm saying? And whatever your faith is, I'm not trying to say that you need to be Christian, whatever your faith is, and if that's what's getting you to the next day, good, man. Let us know, because somebody might need to hear this. Not I'm not just friends with Christians. I have friends that are Muslims. I have friends that are atheists. You know what I'm saying? So I've done enough talking. Marquez, you get the last five, baby.
no man. I just want to piggyback off of what you were saying. Uh, no, I mean you can't say, like one thing that I found out, man, is I will not, like, when going to the VA and stuff like that. And, oh, how long have you been suffering with PT? No, I've been living with it for X amount of time. Like, I'm not gonna allow somebody to put that on me. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? To speak that over me, because I mean it's a very negative thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just it. Like, and I was saying this a long time ago, and I started, saying it to myself first. Like, man, you have to figure out how to live with this every day. You have to figure out how to navigate life with it, because the fact of the matter is, dude, unfortunately, a lot of us were very, very young, and we were exposed and seeing things that we shouldn't have been seeing and shouldn't have been doing. And that's just it. It's in the past. It is what it is. But I understand that everybody deals with things differently. Like for
Mm-hmm.
me, for example, the biggest thing that I had, the thing that affected me the most was when I left for my second deployment. I left a wife and a 6-month-old son. That is what affected me more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So trying to go to counseling when I got out, and all they want to do is talk about, oh, you went to Iraq 3 times? Well, what did you look, man?
Mm-hmm.
It's That's not what got to me. It was leaving my family. And they're trying to dig over here, and it's like, hey man, I'm over here. Like, I'm literally giving you the X to where the treasure's at. Like, start digging over here.
Right. I'm giving you the exact 10
Yeah.
paces, but you're taking 15, bro.
Yes, but people get so infatuated with the fact that we went and did something overseas in a time of war, And it's like, man, like this isn't a cookie cutter process. Everybody deals with things differently. Everybody, you use your podcast, I use my faith, somebody else might use fitness. But what we need to get vets away from is using alcohol and using drugs and using suicide and using that stuff, because that ain't gonna do nothing but make your literally make your life a living hell.
Facts.
And I mean, I don't want to go too much more into my train of thought there, because
Yeah.
I want to savor it for,
Right.
you know, when we do our joint venture here.
Oh
But
yeah. Well, I do want to say one thing. You brought up alcohol, and alcohol was my outlet. All right, alcohol was my outlet. For those of you who've been listening for a while, y'all know that I'm on probation. Y'all know that I got busted for a DUI, a couple of years ago, and I've been sober now 5 years from that. Because alcohol was my self medication. And I'm not dogging on drinking. If you can drink, drink. I'm just a shitty drinker. I'm not an alcoholic. I was just a shitty drinker. You know what I mean? One day I'll go ahead and vibe again with a drink here or two, but I'm not going to be like I used to be. Those that knew me back in the barracks days, Liquored Up Lopez. Anyways, that's another story for another day.
You just don't want to let it start controlling your life.
Facts. Well, we got 2 minutes left, brother. I'm gonna go ahead and do my sign off. Hey, y'all, I'll hope to see y'all here on the Gunline. Make sure y'all hit us up at onthegunline@gmail.com if you guys want to go ahead and be part of this panel. Maybe it could be more than just one joint venture that we do together. You know what I'm saying? It could be more than one collab, depending on how this goes. So on thegunline@gmail.com, hit me up if you want to be part of this, so we could get your stories out there, as well as if you want to come and shoot the shit with me on the podcast, hit me up, man, on thegunline@gmail.com. I don't have to be somebody who served with you. Every soldier has a story.
Yep.
Let's hear it, baby.
Yep, guys, and thank you for joining me here on Sharp and Steel. I just want to throw out there, if you guys need any prayer requests, if you're going through any issues in your life and you just need that prayer, go ahead and hit me up on my Facebook page at Sharp and Steel. You can contact me on TikTok at sharpen.steel. And don't forget to join us every Thursday. You can hear us on Spotify as well as on Amazon Music. Thank you for tuning in, guys.
Hell yeah. I mean, damn, I go in at the hell to it. Go figure, right? Well, you can go ahead and edit that part out anyway. But hey, y'all, last thing, I hope to see y'all here on the Gunline. I don't know how to go ahead and do my social shout outs, but if you go to onthegunline.com, there's gonna be links to all that crap. All right. With that being said,
we're gonna teach you.
Nah, I'm good, baby. There's a reason I pull string, go boom. You go ahead and have all that computer shit. Rounds complete, and the mission, Gunline out. Catch on the Gunline. March order.